Okay, they got the creep that shot Charlie Kirk. And a lot of people are not surprised. I haven't heard anything yet about his sexual orientation or gender confusion, what kind of role that played, and how exactly he established himself or identified himself. But you got to remember, anytime one of these incidents comes up, never believe anything right away. The details always change. They can't have everything right away. It's like when a plane crashes, they get the number the dead wrong. You know, a big shooting, the counts are always wrong. It's just how it is. You can't just have everything correct right away. So give these things time, because there was so much stupid crap coming out about this shooting. It's embarrassing. Anyway, there's a lot to unpack. We're going to do it quick here. Thanks for coming back. Another episode of What They Don't Say. I'm the host, Fred Lynn, and this has really been a whirlwind. I will say it's the first time I've heard of a family turning a member in and being eligible for a six-figure reward. I wonder if the guy's going to take it. I wonder what they're going to do with it. I wonder if they are eligible. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be. Anyway, a lot of people are going to be on it's awful to be that family right now. But remember, they always miss the warning signs. Everyone always says, oh, we should have seen this. We should have seen that. Somebody has missed a hell of a lot of warning signs. And this dad is supposed to be in law enforcement. Another detail they got wrong. Starting out, they told us, oh, he's a pastor. Yeah, okay. How you get a pastor from a law enforcement officer, I don't know. Just remember that the early details are always wrong. Be very careful. Another one that was wrong about this, there were so many people falling for the nonsense about this had to be a professional hitman. That's a super extreme shot. No, it wasn't. 200 yards, 200 yards, okay? There's a couple schools of thought on that. There's a lot of debate about it. Yesterday, I talked to an awful lot of people that claim they know a lot about shooting, who said some of the stupidest things. They're even worse than the guys in media. People telling me, well, I'm a Marine veteran and we shot at 800 yards offhand and hit our targets. Well, you're a liar. That didn't happen. You didn't all have to do that like this guy claimed. I saw so much stupid stuff. No one seems to know how far 200 yards is or how difficult that shot is. In an extreme case, on the other hand, here's a guy that claimed that he's got a 5-year-old kid that can make that shot 200 yards on a pop can all day long. And this is after getting into a lengthy argument, a debate, discussing some details of shooting. He knew the talk. He doesn't know a damn thing about shooting. Almost all the people, I would say 2/3 of the people that were involved in the discussions about how hard it is to make a 200-yard shot, about a third of them actually knew what they were talking about. And that is the fact that it just depends. It depends upon the shooter's skill, the conditions. But a 200-yard shot can be pretty easy under the right conditions with a trained shooter, or it can be impossible. There's so much. First of all, most people don't even know how far 200 yards is. I got trained on all that stuff when I was a kid by my dad, who was a big NRA guy. He used to help training the state troopers NRA pistol team. Anyway, I grew up shooting. One of the things my dad was adamant about was learning your ranges. We were hunting a lot with shotguns. You got to know your range so that you don't wound game by shooting it too far away. So we started out with under 50-yard stuff, went out to other distances when I graduated to longer range shooting. But most people don't realize how far 200 yards is. It's around an average city block on the long side, not the narrow side, back to back on the houses. The long side of most city blocks is approximately 200 yards. It's 2 football fields. So don't tell me that you've got a 5-year-old kid or a 9-year-old girl with a 22. I had a guy, a Marine vet, that claimed that he can do that with his 9mm Glock. the level of stupidity that came out of some of these people, my God, 200 yards is a long way, okay? So here's the deal. There was a guy from a former FBI official on Fox News talking about it. Oh, yeah, this had to be a professional. It's got all the hallmarks. Well, no, it didn't. Because, first of all, if the guy was a professional hitman, this is what I argued all day yesterday. If there's a professional hitman, he sure as hell wouldn't have done it there. We don't ever hear about a professional hitman doing that. What professional hitman off somebody in a crowded area right in front of everybody? They don't do that. They catch them at a restaurant. They catch them walking out to their car. They catch them in the driveway. They catch them in the office. You've never seen a professional hitman snipe somebody in a crowded arena, crowded amphitheater. No, it's these little geek trans Democrats that do that, for God's sakes. It's the nuts like James Earl Ray. I had no idea why people actually fell for the lunacy that it was a paid professional hitman. They just wanted it to be a Democrat scandal so bad that they threw common sense out the window. Let the Democrats throw the common sense out the window. We have to stop doing that. But there is no way that this kid got this demented and nobody knew something was wrong. There's a photograph available right here, and the guy was wearing a t-shirt, "Be the change." What is that? Is that got some kind of ties to his sexual tendencies, his dysphoria, his gender bending? I mean, what's going on? We haven't heard about all of that yet, but that's going to come out. But 200 yards, a lot of people were saying that you could just pick up a gun. Any gun with a scope's going to do. Any deer hunter could do that. That is so stupid. I've owned rifle ranges, okay? And a lot of people come out. Most people, you know, these were loudmouth big talkers too. Oh yeah, I can shoot it. Then they come out and they want me to sight in the rifle for them. Almost always at 100 yards. Well, when you've got a 30-06 like was used in this shooting, you're a lot better off to sight them in for 200 because it's a heavy bullet. They got a lot of drop to them. Okay, that's called the trajectory path. This is it right here. If you sight it in for 200, you're going to be a little bit high, about 1.5 inches or so at 100 yards. You're going to be about probably 6 to 8 inches low at 300 yards. So that gives you a lot more range. You're going to be within 6 to 7 inches probably. You can compensate for that if you know what the hell you're doing and can estimate your ranges. A lot of people, they're getting so bad. Skill is dying so horribly because of electronics. A lot of people can't even estimate ranges anymore. They don't know how far 200 and 300 yards is. But the rifle has to be sighted in for the proper distance. Nobody knows that. People were talking about, oh, what a great shot this was. Hell, he damn near missed him. He damn near had a Trump wound on this guy. He almost missed him. It's not an easy shot like the blowhards say it is. Sure, if you're sitting at a rifle bench and you've got your scope zeroed in, you know what you're doing. But what people forget, a stranger, a college kid that doesn't know shooting, can't go pick up a gun, have someone sight it in for him, and then take it and start shooting eyes out of gnats. It doesn't happen that way. You have to learn some disciplines, and that's what all these people yesterday, even the military guys yesterday, was so disappointing to hear how many military guys had this wrong. It's like, my God, this is our army? How the hell? I hope they used to know when they were in there. Some of these guys, I'm not sure how old they were, but they're saying anybody could do it if they've got the right gun. Stupid, stupid, stupid. There are disciplines that have to be learned. There's a thing called trigger squeeze. We already talked about trajectory. You got to know how that bullet's going to act. They just don't shoot out in a straight line, okay? They got an arc to them. Second thing, you've got to squeeze that trigger properly. You've got to feel that trigger. You've got to become accustomed to it. If you want to really shoot good, you've got to know the trigger of the gun you're shooting because they are never the same. They call it the trigger wall. You take up the slack, you slowly depress the trigger, pulling it straight directly backwards, And it gets to a certain point where if you give it just a little more nudge, that gun's going off. You get right at the cusp, right at the edge. My dad called it the wall, the trigger. You get right back to that point, and then you freeze your body, you freeze your breath, and you very lightly, gently squeeze that trigger, let that shot go. You don't just pick it up, look through the scope, blind it on something, and just blam blam. Just yank the trigger. You don't do that. These are disciplines that have to be learned. It's a skill set. Sure, 25 yards, it doesn't matter because you could miss and you've still got a shot where it's going to do an awful lot of damage. When you're out at distances, it makes a lot of difference. This shooter knew about the breath. He knew about the trigger squeeze. He missed. Obviously, he wasn't shooting for the side of his neck. And all this nonsense people were posting yesterday like it was gospel truth. Oh, he had a vest on and he got his center mass and it's skidded up. I don't know if they think these vests are like the armor plate, the shiny armor plates that knights used to wear back in medieval days, you know, their old jousting suits. But these armored vests, they aren't just a steel plate the bullets just skid around on like butter in the bottom of a frying pan, okay? That's not how it works. When you shoot into a vest, there's, think of it as heavy fabric, okay? It penetrates the surface. They grab them. It could go a little ways, but they grab them. It's the nature of the materials. It's how they're made. So no, those bullets just don't go scooting around like an ice cube on a hot plate. It's kind of absurd. So yes, it's possible for an average guy off the street to make those kind of shots, but you've got to know what the hell you're doing. This is not a beginner. I don't care what these idiots say about, oh, my 10-year-old kid does that all day long. Yeah, he just started shooting yesterday morning. He shot it all day long. These guys are lying. They don't know what, you know, it's kind of embarrassing almost that people will talk about something and they'll argue the point when they know they don't know what they're talking about, and they'll do it anyway just for the sake of debate. Hey, I'd like to remind you right now, I don't know if you're familiar with us, if you're new to us, but I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. We're a new channel, moved everything over here from our old formats. This is just what we're focusing on because this is a lot of work. It really is. Anyway, appreciate you being here. If you want to help us grow, please hit like, subscribe, and most of all, the comments are really important too. What's disappointing about it is there were so many people misled, so many good people yesterday that just wanted good information. And instead, it's bad enough. The media is bad. I've got my almost like 90% of my audience and the people that I react with to social media is conservative. 90% of them. And they were the ones out there spreading this nonsense about guns, shooters, how it had to be a professional hitman. Someone else helped them get out of there. They had spotters. You know, there were people that were producing these fake videos showing the guys standing behind Kirk giving hand signals. They had the whole breakdown. This means coast is clear. This means take the shot, take the shot. Every time the guys would move their hand, they'd say it was some kind of army training signal. The level of nonsense that comes out in this stuff, that's why I say, don't believe anything when you hear it early. Just don't do it. The more bizarre it sounds, the more bizarre it is. There was no reason to ever think a professional hitman would do something as stupid as taking the shot right there where it happened, okay? Obviously, that was an amateur from the start. A professional doesn't do that. But media was telling people it's professional. For the love of God, everybody says, media doesn't think for me, I think for myself. I just listen to them and then I think for myself. Yeah, and then you think exactly what they're telling you to think. Don't be one of those. Like I say, I only had about a third of the respondents yesterday that actually got this right. They were level-headed and they were cool. They were saying, no, the 200 is not a gimme shot. People were calling it a chip shot. Bullshit. I've seen these guys. I used to hear these people bragging about all the wonderful shooting they did. Oh, I dropped a coyote 600 yards. He wasn't running very fast, but I got him. It's like on the run at 600 yards. Yeah, I was sitting on my four-wheeler and I laid it on the handlebars. Bull, you wouldn't believe all these stories that I've heard. I've been shooting all my life. I've shot around other people. I have set up a lot of scopes, a lot of rifles for other people. I've helped them. I've helped them figure out which loads they ought to be using. Okay, I've been into every aspect of this, and all of these people that brag so much, when they showed up, they weren't doing it. And I'll guarantee you, the people that were bragging online, all that wild stuff you heard, oh, this is so easy. You know, I could do that out my bedroom window when I was half asleep at a running pop can. Yeah, I just knock them off. I, I might open both eyes. I don't know, but it's so easy at 200 yards. Bullshit. It is not easy. 200 yards. That's a block away, my friends. It's 2 football fields. That's a respectable difference. Nobody out there just does it and thinks nothing of it. I know a lot of long range shooters. I know guys in 1,000-yard club. They shoot from one hilltop to another. Quite the ordeal. They hand load every load. Every load is balanced by hand. They don't take 200 lightly. They know they can do it. But there are disciplines. You don't just swing on it and shoot like you're shooting skeet, okay? No. So, don't fall into these media traps. Don't listen to the blowhards. As these situations come up, we've always got to remember the first discipline comes from ourselves. You know, the media, God only knows what the heck they're going to tell us every time one of these things comes up. Don't forget how many people became experts on container ships hitting bridges when it happened the one time that made national news. Don't forget how many people became experts on helicopter pathways around D.C. when those people screwed up and flew into an airplane. All of a sudden, the next day, everybody's an expert. Nah, they're not. So if they can't back up what they're saying with some solid facts that a rational person can process, just ignore them. You're going to be a lot better off. You're not going to be sharing the same news that makes them look bad. You come out on top, they're probably just going to keep repeating it. But thank God that this guy has been caught by whatever means it took. There's a lot more to come out. We're going to be covering that too, because there's always a lot that they don't say, and we will. There's more to this situation with these crazy Democrats. We got to look in deeper, because these people aren't backing down. They've got their radical nuts. We got to get into this. We got to figure out what to do about it, and we got to get it right, my friends. And if we do, then maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.